Hi, my name is Sheridan Forster, and this is a brief introduction to video interaction guidance. It's particularly been made for people in Australia who may not know anything about video interaction guidance because it's only been, I guess, going on here for a small number of years. I'm part of something that we can barely call an organisation at the moment, but there are a small number of us who have received video interaction guidance training in the UK, and we were thinking that it's a really useful strategy, a really useful technique. So we were wanting to share it with others in Australia. So we loosely put ourselves together and called ourselves Video Interaction Guidance Australia. Just a brief overview of what I'll be talking about today. So I'll cover what is VIG, or Video Interaction Guidance, who is VIG being used with, what are the principles of video interaction guidance, which are largely the principles of attuned interaction, and what are some of the steps in being involved in using video interaction guidance as a practitioner. Now, VIG, I think, is as much about the people that you're supporting to improve their interactions as it is about you looking at your own interactions. It's about looking at, can you take short turns? When you're supporting other people, do you actually let them know that you've heard what they've said to you? Do you demonstrate warmth in your interactions? And also importantly, how good are you at doing what you're asking or suggesting or guiding other people to do? In a nutshell, VIG is an intervention that works towards improving the interactions between two or more people. It involves making video recordings of real interactions with the consent of the people, and then looking for clips of the better than usual moments or the best moments in those interactions. Even if it's not a great interaction, you can find little moments and then sharing that back with the people or one of the people. And helping them, supporting them to be able to describe what's working in an interaction and explore how they might be able to do these things more. Now, VIG has quite a wide scope, and it's been used in a lot of different contexts. It's been used with newborn babies and their parents, supporting them to look at the interactions and look at how the baby is responding to them. It's been used in early intervention by both teachers and parents, and in schools. It's also been used with children with disabilities and children who are at significant risk, and looking at their interactions in their families and in educational settings. I personally have been using it a lot with adults with disabilities and their support workers and their family members. And a lot of the adults that I work with don't use or understand any speech. So we're looking at very subtle interactions that are occurring without words. It's also been used with clinical educators and their students. So supporting students to be able to see what's actually working in their clinical interactions and helping them to build that, rather than just focusing on what's not working in the interaction. I've also used video interaction guidance with some people with Down syndrome and dementia, and there's others who have used it more broadly with people with dementia. It's been a really useful technique, I think, in that area. Now, given the different client groups, it's also been used by different practitioners. In the UK, it's used a lot by educational psychologists in their work with families and children. With teachers, social workers are using it, particularly in the at-risk, children at risk area, and child health workers. I'm a speech pathologist by training and I'm using it. And I also know of some disability support workers and occupational therapists who are also using it. So it's a good point to actually hear from some of the other practitioners who are using video interaction guidance. I've given you a little snapshot of my context, so adults with disabilities, their support workers, and often adults with very challenging behaviours, really looking at how do we interact with the person. I know that my working motto is very much, how do I need to be in order to be with you? So I'm working with staff and families to explore how they can be with people. But let's hear from a few other people, both in Australia and the UK, about how they're using VIG.
Hello, my name is Strathy and I live and work in Dundee in Scotland. I've been involved with VIG since 2000, both as a practitioner and as an advanced supervisor. I come from a family support background within a social work context, and it's in this work that I've built my experience of VIG with some of the most vulnerable families in Dundee. As a VIG supervisor, I've been able to not only supervise VIG trainees, but to develop social work staff by delivering VIG-based courses on reflective practice across a whole range of social work activity. The reason that I've persevered with VIG for all these years is that when practiced well, with good values, integrity and genuineness, it has the power to bring about meaningful and sustained change. The concept of VIG is deceptively simple and easy to grasp, but the depth of understanding and practice skill only comes through constant practice. There are no shortcuts in VIG.
And do I know there are no shortcuts in VIG. Callum Strathy was actually my supervisor, so I did my initial 2-day training when I was in the UK, and then received supervision from Callum via Skype. Let's hear from another practitioner.
Hi, my name is Christina and I'm a psychologist. I work for Psychology Melbourne in Albert Park. I'm currently in stage 3 of my video interaction guidance training. I use VIG with families and children predominantly to help with behavioural difficulties and or attachment problems. I like VIG because it empowers parents to feel more competent about their skills. It also enables them to have a new narrative about themselves and their children as they start to see successful interactions. Overall, I think VIG is a powerful tool because parents and children find a new way of being, a way that is often happier and more helpful than before.
And Christina has now actually completed her video interaction guidance training and provides supervision to another practitioner in Melbourne who completed the 2-day introductory training earlier this year. Here's Jenny from the UK.
Hello, my name is Jenny Jarvis and I'm a National VIG Supervisor in England in Norfolk and Suffolk. I've used VIG with children and families where there is a mental health problem and also where there is a risk that the child might be removed from the family. It's a particularly useful method in early years and can really help strengthen the attachment between the parents and the babies. I've trained many people and I've worked in this method and trained people in children's centres in this method. I've also trained people across a range of professions in social work, education and health, and I particularly recommend this method, both using it and training others in VIG.
And finally, I'll introduce you to Meredith Crane.
Hi, I'm Meredith Crane and I'm a speech pathologist that works at Able Australia. I've been training as a video interaction guide for the past 18 months, and I've been working with support workers who work with adults with profound intellectual and multiple disabilities.
I'm Claire O'Sullivan. I've been working with Meredith on this program, and so she's been videoing me working with different clients that we have here. And I guess what I've found really useful is when you have the subtleties in your day that you may not notice without a video camera, that you can go back and look at that and find out what works and how to do more of what works, I guess. That's probably pretty much ready, isn't it? Great. Thanks, Claire.
So I guess it's a good point there to also hear from a person who's having video interaction guidance applied to her, which is Claire. She was a support worker working with both adults who are deafblind and adults with multiple disabilities, including intellectual disability. And I recall seeing some of Claire's videos where you could really see that she was slowing down in her interactions to match this older man that she was interacting with. And she commented at one stage that she looked like she was doing nothing. But in fact, what she was doing in those interactions was very skillful. So this is basically what happens in video interaction guidance. So if we start at the top, the guide meets the interaction partner. And they'll talk about whether there are particular goals that the interaction partner has in the interaction with whoever they're interacting with. Also, there are consents exchanged. The guide will then come in video, 10 minutes of natural interaction, and then select aspects or clips during the film to then share back with the interaction partner. And through that process of sharing back the clips, the interaction partner and the guide work together and come up with some goals in how to actually enhance the interaction further. Often people are very, very anxious about being video recorded. And what I often find is that by the end of that first session, when they realise that you're not there to criticise what they're doing, but to actually explore and discover what is working, you have people come out with more confidence and more recognition for what's working and how they can improve it, and more comfortable. Not necessarily completely comfortable with being video recorded, but certainly more comfortable. And this usually happens 2 or 3 times, or 3 or 4 times. So not a long intervention per se, but usually showing important, valuable changes within just a few short sessions. Now, when we look at videos, we look at what's called the principles of tuned interaction. And this chart from the book on video interaction guidance gives you a bit of an idea of the principles that we're looking at. So we're looking for behaviours indicating that the person or the interaction partner is paying attention to the person that they're interacting with. Are they encouraging initiatives? And that's by things like, are they pausing and waiting? Are they showing that they're interested in the person that they're interacting with? Are they also receiving initiatives? And I think this is a really important one. Are they showing that they've heard what the person has said to them? It's one thing to just respond to what people are indicating, but it's another thing to let them know that they've been heard. Are they also developing an attuned interaction with the person? Do they seem to be on the same page? And can you also see an element of guiding where the interaction partner, whether it be a sibling, a parent, a teacher, are they actually supporting the person to reach up to next steps, reach to things that are maybe a little bit trickier for them? And are they deepening the discussion? Are they not just having a single turn on a topic, but really getting in there? Now, as I said, this is as much an intervention that's looking at how you're interacting as well. So, as a guide, are you doing these things? Are you being attentive? Are you receiving the people that you're listening to? And are you helping them to deepen the discussion? Or are you just touching very superficially on something and then moving forward? So it's a great process both for supporting other people's interactions, but also supporting how you are supporting interactions. So this is the overall process of becoming a guide in VIG or a VIG practitioner. There's a 2-day introductory training course, and then you go through a process of supervised process where you video record the work of VIG. So as you can see over here, the work of VIG. Now, so you will video record yourself providing, doing a shared review with the people that you're supporting. So it's as much about you choosing clips of what you see is working, also being about you needing to look at yourself when you're providing guidance, when you're providing support. So being able to look at yourself and look at what's working in your interactions. The guide then shares their clips with their supervisor and develops their own working points. And this process usually takes about 18 months, where you have 6 lots of levels of supervised practice. So it's quite a long process, but it's a process whereby you get to first get a bit of a feel for video interaction guidance and how it might contribute to your work, then get a bit of a feel for really being able to analyze videos, for looking for the principles of interaction, of attuned engagements in videos. Then you go through a process of really looking at fine-tuning how you're providing your guidance to people, how you're activating people to think about things and come to their own solutions. And then a process whereby you can really consolidate those skills. And then for some people, also looking at how to supervise other people in becoming a guide. So it's quite a commitment, but I think it's a very worthwhile commitment and practice. So in conclusion, video interaction guidance has much to offer professionals supporting interaction. There's a growing evidence of its effectiveness. VIG can help us be better practitioners. Now I'd love to show you some of the client work that I've done to show you how it has affected changes in people's lives. But unfortunately, I'm just trying to keep this little session brief. But I do recommend that you have a look at the video interaction guidance website. So there's the UK website, and there's some really lovely clips on there. Look at how video interaction guidance might already have been used in your profession. There's some research around there as well. Also, you're more than welcome to give me an email either at office.viga@gmail.com or at sheri@sheridanforster.com.au. I hope this has been informative and given you a little bit of information about video interaction guidance, and I encourage you to search out more. Cheers, see ya.